Hello there, I'm Simon Lynch from Treasury Talent. I host the Treasury Talent Podcast and run a specialist recruitment staffing firm focused 100% on the Treasury niche across Australia, Asia, the Middle East and the USA. We are collaborating with the Association of Finance Professionals to bring some content around business partnering. Through my podcast, I am really lucky that I have some great people who I have as guests, and today I'm joined by one of those, Steve Kaufhold, who is the Treasurer at Allergan, who have recently merged with AbbVie. Thanks for joining me today, Steve. Welcome along today, Stephen.
Hey, Simon, how you doing today? Good to see you.
Very well, thank you. So we're going to be talking about business partnership today, Stephen. I thought, there's no better person to chat about this than you. So obviously it's a very hot topic at the moment for finance professionals. And I guess in its simplest form, we're really talking about building relationships internally, aren't we? So perhaps let's start with, how do you build this mindset and the personal skills for success in business partnership within Treasury?
Yeah, I think, when you look at partnerships and the skill sets, it's something that you don't learn in school. I mean, I think, people who go into Treasury, they'll take the corporate finance, they will take the accounting courses and so forth. So they're very technical, proficient in doing their job and so forth. And I think, really to learn that skill set really needs to come from the top down, that being the CFO and the treasurer, being proactive, involving the Treasury team, and reaching out to the business units that they support within the company and really explain to them what Treasury is all about. It's funny, I still get questions about, hey, I need a check written and so forth. And, I always have to remind people, Treasury doesn't cut checks. I mean, that's more of an AP function and so forth. We'll wire money from time to time, but we're really not in the accounts payable function. And it's interesting, as you kind of reach out and talk to people within the company, Treasury is still is not even understood. It's a black box within the company. And, if people internally don't understand what Treasury is, they're not going to know what questions to ask. They're not going to know how to reach out to ask for help and so forth. And vice versa. If Treasury is a black box, that means Treasury hasn't been proactive and they probably don't really understand the business as well.
Yeah, if they're thinking of you as the transaction AP person, as opposed to the business partnering strategic person, there's the breakdown, isn't it? We've got to make sure that works.
Exactly. So that's the moment for me, again, in past lives of mine, as I stepped into new roles, it was just a clear misunderstanding. And it's probably even more so internationally, right? Because you can even imagine if internally, if in the same building, people don't have an understanding of what Treasury is. Imagine if you're sitting out in a subsidiary 5,000 miles away, let's say over in Europe and so forth. How are they going to understand Treasury and so forth? And, what I found as an experience is it's almost like the outpost mentality. Treasury is so far away, they don't call, they don't come and visit, they don't have my best interest at heart and so forth. And so I think that just also contributes to the misunderstanding and the miscommunication as well.
So what then, Stephen, are the key skills that you need to develop for that successful business partnership?
Yeah, I think it really is communication. It's the people skills. I think also you need to have presentation skills as well, because you really need to clearly articulate, what Treasury is all about, and being proactive and, maybe even forcing yourself onto internal meetings. Let's say, for example, the R&D finance group has a monthly meeting amongst themselves. Inviting yourself, going to the head of the R&D finance organization and saying, hey, if you want, I'm more than happy to come to your group, sit down, spend a half hour, how long ever it takes. I'll run through what Treasury is about and have a bit of a Q&A type of session so that they can ask questions and understand the Treasury. So I think, it's really the people skills, communications, and presentation skills. And it's really those soft people skills that you don't learn in school.
I was about to say, these are the soft skills that you don't learn in school. So how
Right.
do the listeners out there go about learning them and becoming better at them?
Yeah, I think it's, if let's say your manager, isn't the one who's saying, hey, we need to have some sort of communication plan internally, I think the onus is on then the individual to understand it is important to have those lines of communications with the various groups. And if you're not going to get support from the leaders, you have to do it yourself. And it could just be as simple as picking up the phone with whoever you're dealing with in the business unit and saying, hi, this is so-and-so, I'm with Treasury. And, just kind of start that one-on-one communication so that, when that person may have a question or, they don't know where to go, they may say, that kind of sounds like Treasury. Let me give so-and-so a call. And hopefully then you would either be able to help them or at least point them in the right direction.
So to some degree, it's just actually starting to build a relationship, pick up the phone, start that communication channel with them is really the first step, and then it will develop from there.
Yeah. And, the tricky part is, when you look at Treasury groups and so forth, every Treasury group I know is very busy, whether it's cash management, whether it's, debt execution, liability management, or so forth. And, nobody really stops and says, hey, wait a second, do I need to do any type of internal reach out to folks? I think a lot of times, we as Treasury people think, oh, people understand what we do and so forth. And, when you start asking those probing questions, you find out they really don't have any idea what Treasury is about. And I think that's where the true value of Treasury comes in as you build those relationships. You understand the business, what R&D faces every day, what maybe the commercial group faces in their sales and marketing, you then become part of their whole process. And I think that's where Treasury can add value to the corporation.
Now, we've been thrown a bit of a curveball. It's hard to do this anyway, but now we're having to do it virtually. Anything different, do you think, from a virtual perspective? To some degree, it makes it easier because we jump on Zoom calls like now and the world becomes smaller. But any other tips for people listening in the virtual world?
I think, before COVID-19, I would have told you, Simon, that it's important to, if you are part of a Treasury group that has an international operation, I think it's important to get out there face-to-face, meet the folks overseas, because, what I've found, there's this outpost type of mentality. You could imagine you got a finance director who could be 5,000 miles away. They have never seen anybody from Treasury. And, they think, hey, if I don't see them, they're not thinking about me. They're not thinking about my needs and so forth. And I don't think that serves either Treasury or the business well. So I would have said it's important to get out at least once a year, whether you go visit the country or if it's a large enough operation, typically, they'll have regional finance meetings. And I think that's Treasury's opportunity to participate in those meetings. Spend 15, 20 minutes explaining everything about Treasury. And then even after the meeting, as you're going out to dinner, meeting with these folks on the side, you build those personal skills. Certainly with COVID-19, platforms such as Zoom or Skype, I think are important. And, if the international folks aren't reaching out to you, I think the onus then is on you as the Treasury folks to reach out to the international folks or even the domestic folks as well, because they're working from home. Have a 10 minutes Skype or Zoom session with them just to check in how they're going. What are they seeing in the business? Is there anything that, I can help you with? Any questions you may have.
Now, Steve, traditionally, Treasury is quite a lean organisation, and as you say, generally quite busy. To be effective at business partnering, is there the best way to structure that, or how have you sort of seen that evolve?
Well, I think overall, I think it's the onus of each of the individuals within Treasury. So it's really not the responsibility of just one person. Certainly, if you're a large enough organization that has an international presence, typically you'll have one or two folks on the international Treasury side. Their responsibility would be, part of their day-to-day job would be that outreach to the international folks. domestically, it could be the cash management folks as they're processing the daily volumes and so forth. There is interaction with the business folks and so forth. That's the opportunity for them to, start the dialogue or continue the dialogue that they've already started. And certainly it's the responsibility of the treasurer really to set the direction and to have those conversations, whether it's at the finance leadership team meetings that occur, or, as you're sitting down as an FLT, and you hear that so-and-so is having a group meeting, you could say, hey, love to present in front of you for 15, 20 minutes to your group so they understand Treasury. I can learn more about your business. And more times than not, the business folks would more than welcome you to the meeting, and it's a great opportunity.
And so have you been in the position where you've been able to sort of add to your team, or would you recommend people try and add to their team so that they can, challenge the CFO in saying this extra headcount will give us a better ability to business partner?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one, right? That's such an intangible, right? I think, I think the extra work has to fall on the Treasury team as it's currently staffed. And certainly I think, as the Treasury group demonstrates to the CFO, demonstrates to the executive leadership team the value that it's adding to the business, that is the opportunity to ask for additional headcount. For example, with an Allergan, we did do notional pooling from a cash management perspective. So that cut down on the number of wires, and also with notional pooling, I think it saved us about $20 million, or we were able to generate about $20 million of additional interest income from that. And that's what you can demonstrate. We even did a liability management exercise, working with the business units to understand the intellectual property that was our net investment. And, we were able to generate interest expense savings of approximately $180 million a year in interest expense savings. So again, by having, those opportunities and those items to demonstrate to the CFO and the executive leadership team, I think that then makes it a much easier conversation to add headcount, because you've demonstrated that Treasury adds to the bottom line, is adding value to the business.
And it's pretty hard to fault when you've got some hard numbers like that, how one additional headcount is going to make a difference, isn't it?
Exactly. It's tough with, budgets and so forth. And, it's Treasury groups and, companies are being asked to do more with less. So it's kind of hard to, ask for headcount when initially it may be perceived as an intangible benefit.
How then can automation and technology support this business partnering for Treasury?
Well, I think, with automation, certainly if it's taking some more of the routine functions, whether it's with bank statement management and so forth, anything that frees up Treasury's time from their day-to-day routine just creates time that they can then use to partner, to go out, meet with the business folks and so forth.
Stephen, as always, I love your insights. I'm sure that the listeners today have got some really good tidbits there. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Absolutely, Simon. I really appreciate this. This was a great conversation.
Thanks very much for your time today. I hope you've got some value. As I mentioned, I run treasurytalent.com. Jump on our website and you can see a lot more about us. Our podcast is actually housed there as well, and you'll see lots of interviews with amazing treasurers and CFOs. If I can be of any more assistance, you can get me at simon@davylynch.com. Thanks very much.